Okay, so here is what we're going to work on. We're going to turn this paw print, which is just a vector clip art from Vecteezy. We're going to turn this into an ornament. Now, what we want to do is laser cut this. So since we're laser cutting it, if we just cut this file right now around each of these shapes, you're just going to have 5 objects that fall out, okay? So we need like one captive object to where there's like a border around this, and then these drop out. Then what we're going to do is add like some pretty text across here, maybe a couple snowflakes. So I'm going to show you how to get this piece of clip art turned into something that we can laser as a single item with a little hole for a piece of ribbon right here. Okay, so first thing I'm going to do, I'm going to grab all these objects. I'm at least get it into some kind of usable scale that I want. So I'm just going to set the height over here to be like 4 inches tall. Okay, that's not too big, not too small. Sure, we'll use that. Okay, now what I'm going to do is add a stroke to this. Now this stroke, I'm going to end up filling this in and blending it in as a object. Okay, and outline this so that what we're actually removing is this inner layer. Okay, so I'm going to mess around with this stroke a little bit and say, how do I want it to go? Well, I want it to go on the outside like this. Okay, so a line stroke to outside, and that's a little bigger than I wanted. So something like that's cool. Now see this weird business right here? Okay, that is something going on with this little chunk. So we'll try to correct that later. Okay, so basically that little chunk was causing some weird error right there. Okay, and I really think that stroke is almost kind of big. So you know what, I'm going to grab that and drop that down to like 0.2. I think that might look a little bit better. Okay, ooh yeah. Okay, now it left me with a couple gaps in here. Now I want this to be one solid piece of wood. So basically everywhere that's black is going to be the wood remaining. Everything that's red is going to fall out. So that's the file that we're getting ready to prepare. Okay, so first thing I got to do, I take this stroke. Okay, so the stroke doesn't really have any object to it right now. The object is really just the red part, and the black stroke around this is just like a feature of that object. So what I do is I go over here to Object Path. Oops, yeah, Object Path, Outline Stroke. Now it's going to turn my stroke into an object. Okay, now what I do from here is I have to weld this bad boy. And why does my projector look so weird? Sorry, guys. So now it's all these separate pieces. Well, the laser cutter reads the lines. So if I sent this to the laser cutter right now, it's going to cut this piece out, all these pieces, those pieces. It's going to be a mess. Okay, so what I do is ungroup all this stuff. Okay, now all these red pieces, I can delete. I don't need them anymore. Okay. Now I can take all of these and I'm going to weld these together. So I'm holding the shift button so that I can select all of these together at once. And I'm going to go over here to the Pathfinder. Okay. Now, if you don't see the Pathfinder, you can go Window, Pathfinder. Okay. But in the Pathfinder, we have this little button right here that looks like we're joining 2 blobs. That's called Unite. And now it's turned those all into one shape. So when we used to have separate shapes, boom, that's all one now. Okay, so let me go undo that. See how those are separate? You can see the blue lines. If I click Unite, they're gone. One shape. Okay, cool. Now I'm going to combine this with this. Hit Unite. Okay, now I could leave this like that. I probably would want to get this one a little bit closer. So something I could have done right here, before I welded this, I could take this shape and maybe just rotate it a hair. So see how now it's all touching? Now unite it, and that way when I laser cut it, it's not going to fall apart. Okay? And if I wanted to fill these little areas in, I could go in and delete these paths. So if I highlight this direct selection tool, I can choose these nodes and delete them. Okay, it usually takes 2 deletes. Okay, 2 presses on my delete key to get rid of those. And now I have like a better blob. So you could cut those out. You could leave them. I don't really know what would look best, but let's leave them for now, okay? We do need a spot to put a piece of ribbon. So what I'm going to do is grab this little curvature tool right here. No, you know what? I'm going to make a circle. So I'm going to use the ellipse tool, and I'm going to grab an ellipse and put it right here. Okay, that looks good to me. And let's see, if I have a piece of ribbon, I'm going to make a 1/4 inch hole, and then I have a 1/2 inch big chunk. Okay, so I'm going to make this 1/2 inch, and I'm going to weld this to that using that unite button. And now I'm going to make another circle, and this one I'm going to make a 1/4 inch, 0.25, and that's what I'm going to cut out. Okay, so I'm going to take this, and I could have centered this before I welded that. That probably would have been easier, but it doesn't really matter. Now I'm going to take this selection. Let me just change the color so you can see it. I'm going to take this selection and then hold shift so that I can also select this back part. And I'm going to use the Pathfinder again, but this time I'm going to use this minus front button. It's going to use this shape as like a punch to cut out this object. Boom. Okay. Now we have one solid item. We have a ribbon hole. We have all this other jazz. That is just beautiful. Now let's put in a doggy name. Okay. So I'm going to use my dog, Potter. Okay. Now, Potter, you're such a good boy. All right. Let's make this a little bit bigger. We're going to mess around with this. Now, the text for this situation, since we're laser cutting it, we want it to be solid. It's got to be some kind of script. Okay. You are more than welcome to install fonts of your own. For this case, we're going to grab just something to where the text is all welded together, to where it like chains into itself. It will make our lives a lot easier. Those aren't all touching, and we can mess with the kerning to get stuff closer. Let's see. Ooh, that's pretty close. We're probably not going to get the P in there, but we can like manually add that. Okay, let's see what else we got. Is there something better? All right, one more second. Man, you could spend some time choosing a font. Ooh, I like that, but I don't like that other. That might actually work, even though it's pretty intense. Okay, that's pretty intense. We're going to keep that one. Let me look one more second. Look, I'm falling victim to the font trap. All right, let's just leave what we had. So now I'm going to take this font, and here's what we got to do. It's not an object right now. It is an editable thing, or an editable piece of text. It is not an object. We need this to be an object. But if we're going to make a bunch of these for different dogs, make a copy of this and drag it off screen so we keep our size and keep our font. Okay, so I'm going to drag this one out here. This one, I'm going to right click, create outlines. Now it is no longer editable text. It is a shape in the shape of the word Potter, if that makes sense. And now we got to do some welding. And let's see how this works if I just weld this all. Great. Now it has stuck all those pieces together. The only thing that's kind of weird, this might break right here. So something we could do is add like a little tiny chunk or something right here. And this is just, may not look the best, okay, but once we laser cut it, it might just hold those together a little bit instead of falling to pieces. And now we take this font, let's drag it in here. I'm gonna kind of tilt it a little bit. Let's get it, it's gotta touch all these corners so it doesn't fall out. It's kind of cute, right? Potter's gonna love this ornament. All right, now I'm gonna take this and weld it to that. Weld. Now it's all one shape. We can go laser cut this. Okay, this is gonna fall, everything that's white is gonna fall out. Everything that's black is going to remain. Now this font's probably not quite the best, but we'll see how it comes out. That little fine line might be weird when this falls out, but if it works, it's gonna be awesome. Now you could add other little pieces like the years. Like you could add a 2020 or like some snowflakes and weld them all in. But for this demonstration, we are now done and this is ready to be sent to the laser cutter. If you wanted to see what this is actually going to look like, okay, when it's cut, I could set my fill to nothing and set my stroke to like 0.001, which is actually what we'll have to do when we go to cut this. And now you can see all the cut lines. Okay, it's a lot going on, but this is actually where the laser is going to travel and cut this out. Okay, so let's save it and go cut this and see how it looks.